Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 30. Thank you so much for being here with me today. If you're new here, welcome. Please like, subscribe, share this with your friends, and let's dive in today. Have you ever felt like an opportunity slipped through your fingers and then wondered, was it really meant for me? Today we're going to talk about this thought, this phrase, what is meant for me will not pass me by. And I want this to be a powerful reminder that trust and faith in timing of what is meant for you is something that we can all hold on to. Now, I want to share with you a couple of things that have happened in my life recently and over the last year or so that really showed me that what is meant for me will not pass me by. And I want this to be an encouragement to you that as you're working, as you're diving in to your journey, that those things that are meant for you will be yours. And I want that to be just a feeling of abundance and a feeling of gratitude for what is coming. When I really think about this phrase, what is meant for me will not pass me by, what I think about is that the connections I'm making, the meetings I'm going to, the events that are offered to me, that all of those opportunities, the people that I'm meeting, the experiences that I have, they will align for my benefit. And I may not see how they're all working together right now, but I'm trusting that those things are working for my good. Now, I do feel like this is really a foundation of my faith and a foundation of how I'm seeing the world now. This has not always been the case, right? I have had times where things pass me by, and a couple of reasons for that. One, I wasn't looking for those opportunities, and two, I wasn't ready. Now what I'm doing is preparing myself. I am doing what I can with my personal development, with my professional development, with learning and growing so that when those opportunities come, I'm ready. And I think that's part of it. One is just timing of things, and two is being prepared for when they come. Okay, so I want to take a minute to share with you a story from my life, something that happened about a year ago, and how through this journey I could really see how things were lining up. For me, I believe that God was lining this up for a purpose. For you, it might be the universe, however you look at that. But I want to share with you this story because it really solidified for me that as I am working and trusting the process, that these things are lining up. I may not see how they are lining up and how it's going to work out right now, but I'm trusting that if I just keep putting in the work, putting in the effort, stretching myself, putting myself out there for opportunities that I may not actually qualify for, that there is a bigger purpose at work behind the scenes, and it is working for my good. A year ago, about August 2023, my friend called me and said, hey, there is this PA job at this hospital system that she was working for. She's like, you should apply for it. And I was really excited about it. I had been working online, doing telehealth stuff, and I had been considering an in-person position. And so this one came up, and it was meant for me. The supervisor of the overall clinic was a nurse that I had worked with previously in a previous job. The office manager for where I would be working, he was the son of a physician that I had worked with previously. She was one of my attending physicians. She worked for the hospital system as well. I had all these connections. Melanie was a great reference for me, and she was talking me up. All of that was in my favor. And so I applied for this job. I went in, interviewed for the position. It went great. They loved me. They wanted to bring me back for a second interview to meet with the physicians. I did that. That went great. It seemed like everything was rolling along. After that second interview, I was told, great, we'll get your offer together. The CEO was out of town, so once he gets back, we'll put that together and get things rolling. Awesome, great. And then nothing happened. Things just kind of sat. And I think it was a week later, I finally emailed Lindsay. I was like, hey, haven't heard from you. Just wanted to check in. Are you working on the offer? What's going on? And she called me and said, I am so sorry. We decided not to hire for that position. They took the job posting down, and there were some things going on in our community that was shifting patients to different practices. And they're like, our revenue is just down. We don't have the ability to hire for it right now. And I was upset. I will tell you, I was upset because I really did feel like that position was meant for me. And it's so interesting because I was upset and felt like, I had it in the bag. And so that was this curveball that came in of why did that happen? So once I calmed down and kind of let that frustration and that emotion flow through, I realized really nothing has changed. I'm still in the situation where I'm at. I still have a great telehealth position, so I'm okay. It's not a big deal, and I began to think, maybe this just wasn't meant to be. That's okay. Well, fast forward a couple months, my stepdad got sick. And in November of last year, I was able to go to my mom's for 3.5 weeks to go spend time with them, to be with them. We were planning on going there for Thanksgiving anyway. So I just went a couple weeks early with my older son because we're homeschooling him. And it all worked out. And then in January, my stepdad passed away, and I was able to go for 2 weeks and spend another 2 weeks with my mom and my brother there. Had I had that job, I never would have been able to do those two things. And it was very important to me that I had that time with my stepdad and with my mom. So looking back, I was grateful that that job fell through. And I didn't know that was going to happen, right? But it was such a blessing that I didn't get that job. And so I was very thankful. And I really do feel like God knew what was coming and closed that door for that purpose. Now, fast forward to August of this year, of 2024, I got an email from Lindsay and Kaylee, and they said, hey, the person who has been a primary provider here has turned in their resignation, and we will hire for this position this time. Are you interested? I thought about it for a little bit because I had a lot of momentum of things going that I wasn't sure if it was the right time. But I decided, how crazy is it that it's coming back? And so it just made me think, let me look into it. And my friend Melanie, who was working for that hospital system, I didn't tell her that I was going to go in and shadow the provider and just give it a feel and see if I wanted to even pursue it. And so I waited until I went through the day of shadowing, and I called her afterwards and I was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I got an email from Lindsay and they talked about this position, and I went in and shadowed and I'm pretty excited about it. I think it would be a good position. And she said, well, that's funny because they offered me that position. So here I am thinking, okay, this opportunity was coming around and it's mine. It's meant for me. And then she was like, well, they offered me that position. And I told her, I was like, here's the thing. If you want that job, it's yours. Because now I'm in the mindset of, if it's meant for me, it is not going to pass me by. And it looks like it may not be meant for me at this time again. And if so, that's okay. And what was interesting that happened was she ended up taking the position, and they created a second position for me that was a little less than full time. One of the other providers retired, so it actually worked out. And so I ended up in that job, and I'm there now. And it's interesting because it's not full time, but it's just what I need, just what I needed. And so it was so cool to watch that full circle come around of what's meant for me will not pass me by. It seemed like twice that it was going to pass me by, but it worked out. And I think a couple of things with that story is important, because had this happened a year ago, right, I would not have been able to spend that time. That's very important to me, that I was able to spend that time with my stepdad and my mom. And two, the way it worked out with me being working 3 days a week, basically, is significantly better for me than had I had the full-time position. So for me, it has been an incredible blessing that the way that worked out. And I think that's really important, that I can see how good this has been. And I could have been upset the second time and demanded that I got the full-time position. But it was so nice and it felt so good to be able to release that. Like, it's okay. If she needs that position, she needs to have it, because she was already working for that hospital system. They had an obligation to her to take care of her. And so it all worked out, and it felt like such a gift to be able to let go and let the chips fall where they may, and watch as that happened, and everything turned out perfect. It turned out the way it was meant to be. I think that was incredibly important. So that was an opportunity that I had that didn't work out and then came back around. And so those things happen too. Maybe that's because the first time it came around, you weren't ready, or it wasn't the right time, or it wasn't quite the right offering. And when it comes around again, you're ready, the timing's right, and it's a better opportunity for you. This next story that I have to share with you is sometimes a no can lead to a better yes. Sometimes we go for an opportunity and we're told no, and in the end, something else comes along that is a better opportunity. It's more aligned with you and your vision or your goals, and it provides a better circumstance. So a couple of months ago, I was pitched an opportunity to invest in what's called a special purpose vehicle, an SPV, which is a fund of funds. What happens is you have this fund that people are raising money for, but those monies are actually going to go into a bigger fund. And this opportunity was pitched to me. I liked the opportunity. I liked the person I was investing with, and I wanted to invest. And so I did. And then a couple of weeks later, that fund of fund managers came to me and said, hey, we actually didn't raise as much money as we would have liked. And because of that, we can't afford to keep this fund of funds open, because it just doesn't make financial sense. So we can either wire you your money back. If you would still like to invest, we can continue to keep you in that fund, just not in our SPV. And I told him, I was like, well, I've already invested. I like the opportunity. I would like to stay in it. He connected me with the fund manager, and I spoke with him, and he said, you have a couple of opportunities. You can come in as a single investor, but if you do that, you're responsible for all the paperwork, all the taxes, everything on your own. You'll need to do that. Option B is to come in through another SPV. And the benefit of doing that is they'll take care of all the paperwork side of things, but they actually have better economics compared to the fund that you were coming from. They had a preferential return, which the one I was investing in didn't have. And so I was like, of course I'd like to do that because one, they're taking care of the paperwork. I wanted this to be a passive investment. So that worked out for me. And then I got better economics because I was going into this different vehicle. So it was interesting to have that opportunity and that door closed, but the next door that opened was a lot better for me than what I had originally invested in. So sometimes that no can lead to a better yes. So this one is kind of a short and sweet story. And I think what was interesting for me is I was able to just go with the flow of it and not feel rushed by the decisions or feel disappointed by that first one kind of falling through. And I think allowing things to unfold so you can see the full picture is really helpful. And being able to take the disappointment that happens in any situation where you are expecting one outcome and the answer became no, being able to say it's okay to let go of what didn't work, to stop trying to hold on to it so tightly, but just allowing things to be open and allowing yourself to be open to what is truly meant to be and what is meant for you. Why this is so important. When you are so convinced that this has to happen and it has to happen a certain way, I feel like it's like these closed fists. You're holding on to that vision of what it should be so tightly that nothing can get in and nothing can get out. But when you have a vision of, here's what I would like it to be, but I'm open to what the possibilities are. Do you see the difference? Your hands are open. For those of you who are not on video, when I think about that first example, right? You're closed, your hands are grasped tightly. You're holding on to that vision of what should be or you think is going to happen. And your hands are tightly clenched and you cannot take on anything more. But when you are open and think about your hands, palms up, open to the possibilities that it may go the way you think it's going to go, but it totally could go a different way, you're much more open and available to receiving what is yours. And I think the difference between those two postures is life-changing. Anytime that you can be open and receptive to what's possible, you're open to so many more opportunities. And I think that's really, really important. The other thing I think that is really important to remember is that you don't have to chase what's meant for you. If you can separate the outcome from the work and you just put your head down, you're doing the work, you're putting in the reps, the outcome will happen and it will happen as it's meant to be for you. I think when we can trust that what I'm doing is where I need to be and the things that are meant for me will come, it's incredible what can happen. I've told you guys before, I write down some affirmations every morning. I've been doing it since July, and I thought certain things were going to happen in a different way. But what has come into my life and what has come into what I'm doing is different from the way I anticipated, but it is so much better. And I just want to encourage you to be open. Be open to see different possibilities, to go out and try different things, knock on those doors, see if they're meant for you, see if they open for you. They may not, but you won't know unless you try and unless you're open to those opportunities. So today I want to take the time to encourage you to push towards your goals, work for them, but separate that work from the outcome. When you do that, that leaves yourself open to the possibilities. Ed Milet talks about this a lot. You are one conversation, one meeting, one phone call, one Zoom away from changing your life. And you don't know when that's going to happen. It may be the next phone call. It may be 1,000 phone calls from now. You don't know. But when you are just putting in the work and trusting that what is meant for you will come, it will happen. And it will probably happen in a way that's so much better than you could have anticipated or even thought about. So keep working towards those goals, keep putting in the work, and being open and receptive for what is meant for you. Guys, have a fantastic rest of your week. I appreciate you guys. If you found this valuable, if this was something that you needed to hear, someone else needs to hear it too. Please like, subscribe, share this episode with your friends, and don't miss future episodes. All right, guys, have a good one.